Welcome to Pot of Ages, a League of Legends esports podcast by fans for fans about being a fan. On episode 6, we will be recapping spring finals in all the 4 major regions that we are cursed to follow and peek ahead at MSI. Then we will be covering a subject near and dear to very few of us, Challengers Korea and the LCK Summer Promotion Tournament, and especially being fans of the more minor LCK players. Today, we are joined by Aaron, who you may know as Stillwell with an underscore at the end of it on Twitter. Aaron, do you want to give a little tidbit about yourself, who you are, how you got into this, what you watch?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of a like general League of Legends fan. I basically just kind of tweet a lot about League of Legends, and I follow basically every single region except mostly I don't follow LMS. They're kind of not very good. But Korea, China, North America, Europe, I follow it all. Like it's a bit of an addiction.
And you've been
A
around for a
little
little
bit.
bit,
I've
right?
been tweeting since like late 2014. So, about a half a decade.
So you're like properly cursed by the
Extremely
esports
cursed, yeah.
scene.
Just, like, save me.
And you might know Aaron, and this is what we're going to talk about actually on the second half of this episode, is that guy who's really into Kuzan. And so if you see him around, it might be because people
Yeah.
are yelling at him
Lots of
about
Kuzan
Kuzan.
tweets, lots of Kuro tweets. Just, you know, people people
The
don't
good
want me to
boys.
tweet about Kuzan, so I keep tweeting about Kuzan.
Love your
Oh,
Korean
yeah.
mid laners. So, okay, first topic spring finals. Let's start with what happened chronologically first, which was the LCK finals, and this was SKT versus Griffin. I did catch most of this live. Shockingly short, at least for me. What do you guys think?
I mean, I thought that, the greatest series to ever series that would be on par with SKT and Rocks at World's 2016 semis was in fact not the greatest series to ever series. I feel like as soon as I saw that Talia Pantheon lock in, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't know about that one, sir. And then it was just like they lost with it, so they went standard, but then they lost with standard comp, so they went back to Talia Pantheon, and by then I was like, okay, this is pretty much GG.
The second Talia Pantheon. I mean, like, it wasn't like a full salty run back, but it was definitely one of those moments where I kind of was like, so this is it, Griffin? This is how we die? It was a little bit. I guess it wasn't what I expected. I mean, I'm not a fan of either teams. I like them both. Um,
I
but
mean, we suffer from KT, so we can't really
yeah,
be
so
SKT. We're
So I
Griffin
can't
fans.
ever really be a true SKT fan, and I liked Griffin, but I did have some conversations with people about whether or not they have always kind of been trending downwards for the last couple of weeks at the end of this spring split, and if that was just what showed up at finals, but it was not, I think, the Griffin that everybody fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that I mean that hurt. I did want a better series out of it.
Yeah, because I thought that after that best of three, which people are like, that's like one of the best of threes ever,
Mm-hmm.
between those two, I really thought that it would be more explosive or at least more competitive. But it just felt like they came in without a real game plan. And I don't really know if it's to blame the LCK tournament structure. And I know Aaron has a lot of thoughts
Yeah.
about this, but like the whole King of the Hill thing, where they just
Yeah.
like Griffin shoots to the top, and then they don't have to play anyone for weeks. And then when they finally have to play someone, it's like, well, they haven't really had any practice. So I
But
don't know.
I don't think that's true. Okay, so I guess Aaron, let's hear your tournament rant, which we can also talk about later when
Oh,
we
I
get
have
into
LEC thoughts.
LEC.
Like, that tournament.
Okay.
But we'll
Okay.
stick on topic for now. The
Yes.
LCK, like, the gauntlet format is just kind of really bad. And I just don't like the fact that, like, I view regular season as like the regular season should seed into playoffs it shouldn't give you an advantage in playoffs. And so, like, I think teams that have seeded into finals are, I think, 5-3 now all time. Griffin joins the Rocks Tigers as the only teams to lose after being seeded directly to finals. So most of the times it's a pretty significant advantage getting seeded into finals and skipping a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
best of fives. But for Griffin, I think because they're a young team and because they don't have a lot of experience in best of fives, I think this is their fourth
Mm-hmm.
best of five ever, and or at least at the LCK level. Um,
Yeah.
you only have four best of fives. CV Max's drafting, or just Griffin's drafting in general, leaves a bit to be desired, and it definitely did in
Mm-hmm.
this best of five. Uh,
Well, you're telling me Pantheon Talia isn't like the next misfortune
okay,
support?
the Talia
What?
Pantheon, I liked it for game one. Breaking it out game three was really questionable, but it almost worked game one. It honestly should have worked. I think Lehen's just kind
Yeah.
of botched it, but it happens. Like I, I don't know. I just think like the Griffin that we saw, it wasn't. I don't think that was representative of how strong Griffin really is, but I also think SKT is a significantly better team, regardless of how good Griffin is or is not based on the finals.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I definitely think that's true. I guess I always expected SKT to win. I just didn't expect it to look like that.
Yeah. I mean, I hoped for more games just so I could continue to use that big headed, tiny body teddy bear meme that I use every time Teddy does something well. But I guess I just gotta save them for MSI or
Oh
something.
yeah,
So, like, whatever.
Yeah, you'll have more chances to use that. Yeah, to your point, Aaron, I think that's definitely true. Although Griffin being a young team, that's kind of already always been their advantage and their disadvantage, right? So to kind of pull that back into the gauntlet format, it's like, uh, I don't really blame the gauntlet format so much for that. I just blame like that's just always been their team, and like they'll either get over that or
yeah.
they
I mean,
won't.
again, they're a young team, so like I think with experience and just like it's experience in these moments is going to help out. I mean, SKT has been in like countless
Right.
finals moments. Like it's kind of hard to understate just the massive like experience discrepancy between Griffin and SKT. Uh, but like
Right.
just like putting this one split into a bubble, you had Griffin as the team that like again they're carrying over a roster from last year, whereas SKT replaced four of their five starters. They brought in a bunch of new trainees,
Right.
new subs. Like they are a completely new roster, and so you saw over spring split, they just kind of ramped up. Like the SKT that we saw at finals form is kind of what we expected of this like roster whenever it was first formed,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so I think how the split went on is kind of to be expected, and that teams eventually did catch up to Griffin. Where Griffin had the like synergy advantage, and a team like SKT where they just had the talent advantage kind of caught up.
I don't know. I guess like I again can't analyze my way out of a paper bag, but I also just feel like Griffin just started doing poorly for reasons that weren't synergy, right? Like, we certainly can't blame synergy. They're the same damn team. Um, I don't know. Like I agree that this is the SKT we all expected to see. I just feel like this was not the Griffin we expected to see, and it wasn't necessarily that others had caught up. They too, maybe it was an adaptability thing. Maybe they just lost whatever um, mojo it was that they had originally. But it like they've been not on form, I think, for the last few weeks. We just didn't see it because, like you said, they didn't play the gauntlet, so it was weeks before we
Yeah,
saw them again.
I'm not sure how much we can attribute to just like they basically didn't play a game that mattered for basically a whole month. Like
Yeah.
for the final, couple weeks of the regular season, they had already locked in the number one seed. So they weren't playing games that really mattered like as far as their playoff seeding goes. And then they got to skip, 2 or 3 weeks of gauntlet play. So that's about a month time period where they were playing games that did not matter at all to them. There was no urgency of like we need to go out there and we need to win tonight and we need to show our best form absolutely or we might lose. Whereas a team like SKT, like they had stuff to fight for up until the final week of the season.
I do think it is as a former KT or not former as a KT fan, this was kind of it felt pettily good because it was one of those moments where it was like, oh, you too get beat by SKT, you know,
Like join us in the corner.
you know,
Welcome to the
right?
club.
You know what I'm saying? Like there
Yeah.
was a moment where I was just like, because if they had won, then we could have been like, oh well, you know, at least KT won against Griffin
Yeah.
in finals. And then if they lost, you're just like, yeah, suck it. Like that's
No, you
that's
felt
how it
it.
feels to the
Yeah,
rest of us.
that's how it feels. Welcome to the we've all lost to SKT club.
Anyway, well, okay, I think let's do LEC next
Oh
because
god,
of the
from
format.
yeah,
For one.
from one stomp to another.
For one stomp to another. I but this was different. I actually enjoyed this stomp. I did not enjoy the Griffin versus SKT chop. This is also one where G2 did some really funny drafting stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
So they funneled, you know. They had it was like an 18-minute game for game
yeah.
3.
I think it was like 17 minutes. It was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fastest game. It
was like the
insane.
fastest game in
Yeah.
at least LEC history, and then one of the fastest games in all history total.
Yeah, they almost had a dancing Rift Herald in that game.
Yes, yes. And that's probably like one of 2 professional games where I've seen the Rift Herald go that close to getting straight into the Nexus. I do feel bad because I think OG played pretty good up until the finals, but something about G2, man.
Yeah.
They were magical. I did really enjoy watching the series 3 stomp and all.
I do feel like G2 is just I don't know, I feel like they have a very different read on the meta. So they do all these crazy picks and it somehow works. And maybe it's just because I still haven't really come to terms that Perks is in the AD carry role and Caps is in mid lane. So every time I watch the game, I'm like, what kind of weird simulation am I in? But they're they're really scary looking. I don't know if that's like, oh, LEC's bad or LEC's competitive or whatever that is, but I do think they are a team that you should look out for during MSI. Because they just have these wacky picks.
Yeah, like for my money, I think they're like probably the most talented team that Europe has ever assembled. Like at least kind of like in relation to the rest of the world, I think they're the most talented team. They're ridiculously flexible in draft. Like they can play so many different champions that it's just like no other team in their region can really touch them, and it's all kind of thanks to like you have one of the best mid laners in the region, or former mid laners playing bot lane. You have a jungler who has been willing to play supports. You have a top laner who can also play like half the mid lane champions. So they can flex everything around, and basically what we got to see, like, it was a fun stomp just because like the discrepancy between the 2 teams was just so great that it was actually fun.
Yeah, it wasn't like SKT Griffin, I guess, where it was just like, okay, come on, guys. Come on now. While G2 OG was a bit more, okay, this is, they have families, but also we can post memes, so this is great.
Although the thing that kind of killed it for me with the G2 OG one is that it was a run back of the first best of 5 that they played that was an equally like game 1 was a close one, but every other game in the first best of 5 was also a stomp. So we got to watch 6 matches where G2 definitely is way, way better than the second best team in Europe.
Oh god.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this series might be one of the ones where I was like, this team definitely is better than all other competition, which I did not feel the way about the other. Well, I didn't watch IG, so maybe when we talk about that later, that will feel this way. But in my very short time of watching League of Legends, this split with G2 and then this best of 3 with G2 is the first time where I felt that that differential was so clear and so obvious. And, again, anybody who was blind can even see it. It just was incredible.
It's kind of sad that I think they talked about it, I think, yesterday, that Mickey X is, due to his wrist, he might not be playing
Yes.
all of MSI. He's like not scrimming a whole lot. He's not practicing a lot, and so he might not be playing at
Yeah.
MSI, which is a huge bummer. Like, you want to see that team at full strength against all these other number one teams in every other region. It would be really cool to see that. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a bit of a bummer, but you know,
But I think it's better that he
yeah. Oh yeah.
rest up, right? And if they can keep that form through summer into Worlds, that's obviously much
Oh
more
yeah.
important to them. Um, and put it this way, if they get real far at MSI, then they can say we can beat you at the
Oh,
promise queue level.
Oh god. Beat you at the promise queue level. Wow.
I think
Things you-
that's like, not to put down promise queue, but it is really hard when you're a support and you don't play that much with the team, and you get brought in, and if they do real well at MSI,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just
I mean,
saying.
regardless of Promiscue's like actual, talent level, or it doesn't matter who the sub is in this particular instance. Like, it's going to be difficult to fill the shoes of a player who has like built-in synergy with Perks. Like, like from the moment
Right.
Perks swapped from mid lane, like he was duoing with Mickey X. Like Mickey X was teaching him basically how to play bot lane. So like there's just you just kind of like you learn how to play the role with a certain player. So whenever you swap it to a different player, regardless of talent level, it's completely different.
I mean, if worst comes to worst, just have Caps play Pike in mid lane.
Yeah,
Just have him
just
run
funnel.
around.
Yeah,
exactly, just funnel.
Funnel
Yeah.
through
Funnel.
MSI.
We can
That's
put
what I want.
Wonder on Rise. We can put Yonkos on Tarek. We'll put Caps on Pike, and we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
There we go. G2, we got you. Hire us.
We got your draft right here.
So this is the first time LEC did. I don't even know what to call this format. The
Bad.
format where somebody plays
You
two
can
best
you can
of
call
fives.
you can call it
48
bad.
days. Not 48 days, 48 hours.
I call it the Dracos explains how this format works for the 58th time because nobody understands it.
Match, yes. It was extremely confusing. I think even if you ask me right now, all I can really tell you about the format is that Orahen played two best of fives in 48 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not immediately like, this is bad. I think it's an interesting thought. I think, like the King of the Hill format that LCK has, it has its advantages and disadvantages. So with the LCK one, obviously, as Aaron says, you get seeded in, but then you're playing the finals cold, which is a really terrifying thing to say. But then in the LEC, I guess if you are in a loser in in the semifinals match, then you have to you're out. But then if you're the winner, then you're rewarded by having to once again go and play the best of five in front of the stage.
I don't think there's
don't know.
like with the King of the Hill format that LCK has. I see like I can kind of see the like advantages of it. It's hype when a particular team is like making a bracket run in King of the Hill, because you're just knocking off team after team after team, and you're knocking off every team. And there's also the like, if you're seeded directly into finals, then you basically didn't have to show anything in playoffs. So you're coming in cold, but you have been able to scout things that every other team, like whatever team that you're going to be playing, you've been able to scout what they're playing, so you can practice that. And so there are disadvantages and advantages to it. I don't really like the King of the Hill format. This LEC format, I don't see anything. I don't see any real positives to this one. I think it's a mess.
Well, okay. I would argue, I guess, that the positive is that nobody likes to watch a third place match. So they're trying to give meaning to something other than the finals.
I think that...
And
Yeah, continue.
No, that's all I got.
Okay. They're trying to give meaning, and yeah. I'm getting just like huge flashbacks back to the LPL days where some teams were forced to play like 3 best of 5s back to back.
Oh, God.
To back, because the format was just
Oh, God.
so bad. So like one team would just have to play like 4 best of 5s after each other, and then they're like, okay, and then they come to the finals and then they lose because they played 4 best of 5s back to back. And in the LEC, of course, that's not like 4 best of 5s back to back, but I do feel like, I mean, sure, if you play the losers, semifinals, whatever, you get the whole stage experience, get to play on the big stage and things like that. But then you also, I feel like it's just the winning team gets an even bigger advantage because they can scout them out, and then it's like the losing team, they have to play the winning team again, like straight after that.
Yeah.
Like, do they have time to scrim, or like what do they do after they win the series? So it does feel like, I mean, in this case, G2 was just miles ahead of everyone else.
Right.
So that was like, it didn't mean anything.
Right.
But still.
Yeah. I think I definitely. It's hard to evaluate the LEC for this split because G2 was just so good.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I don't know if we would have had a better result if G2 wasn't so dominant, and then we would have been able to more clearly see what this final structure does or doesn't do for us. In this case, you know, OG was really scrappy, but then they hit up against G2, and you're just like, well, here we go again.
Yeah, I think we got the correct winner. Like, that's no doubt. G2 is definitely the best team in the region, but I think just my beef with the format is mostly that, like, it gives so big of an advantage to placing top 2 in the regular season because you get to skip 2 rounds of play. So you get to watch every team below you who are, you know, ostensibly weaker than you are. You get to watch 2 rounds of that type of play just to get a feel for what the patch is, because, you know, playoff patch is always different from regular season patch. You get to watch that. You get to scout all of these teams out that are, again, they're weaker than you, so you're getting to scout them out. You get an advantage in that. And not only do you get to skip 2 rounds, but whoever loses between the first and second place you just get a mulligan. You get the privilege of double elimination that no other team gets, including the team that wins that 1 versus 2 best of 5. So I just think the format's just a mess all over. Like we got the correct winner, but the way we went about it was just like, I look at that format and I think, I don't know if there's ever going to be a time where a team that isn't a top 2 seed is going to win that. Because you have to win 4 best of 5s over like a 3-week period. I just don't know. I just don't see it.
So, wait. Hold on, though, Aaron. So it sounds like your issue is that you think you shouldn't get that big of an advantage in the regular season. By
you shouldn't get that big of an advantage.
Why?
What was the difference between Origin and Fnatic this split?
Well, clearly a best of 5.
Was the difference between Origin and Fnatic great enough to warrant 2 buys and a double elimination in your pocket?
I mean, I think during the regular season it did warrant that because of their performance. I mean, I get you, but then what you're saying is you just want a regular season where basically it doesn't count for anything, and then you're having a bunch of people play.
I think it does. I think the regular season should be a seeding for the playoffs. Like your reward for placing number 1 in the regular season should be playing a really low seed. That should be your reward. Should be playing a far inferior competition in the first round.
But it won't be that inferior because all of you qualify for playoffs, right? So it's not like you get to play the 10th place team. You're playing, you know, like
generic Green Wings.
Yeah. It's not like you get to play generic Green Wings to get into the semis, right? So I don't know. I think I get what you're saying, but I feel like simply to say that I don't think the first place team should get. I can see that you're saying it's a huge advantage. I agree. It is a huge advantage. Similar to King of the Hill, it is a huge advantage. But I think to say that, we shouldn't give teams an advantage for the regular season other than just being able to seed against, is it the sixth place team? I can't do math. FYI, guys, it's like 5 in the
I
morning.
mean, in my in my theoretical playoff format, it would be a 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 style format, like that type of bracket. In my in my mind.
1 versus 8. So you want to
Yes.
go all the way to 8 for the playoffs?
That's what I would want to.
No, that's crazy.
I don't think that's crazy.
That's crazy. You are not allowed to be league commissioner. That is too much playoffs.
Say that's too much playoffs. You can say that's too much playoffs. Then fine, we'll go with just the LCS format. Which I think this LEC format is just kind of like a useless kind of derivative of the LCS format. Like, I'm fine with the LCS format, where it's just like the top 2 get buys and things get reseeded after 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. I'm fine with that. That's like, I guess you get a solid advantage by getting 1 week of bye, but past that, that's your advantage, and I think that's as far as I would be willing to go. Again, I'm not a commissioner, so it doesn't really matter what I say.
Right, yeah, no, obviously this is all theoretical. None of us are ever going to be commissioners.
There's someone in backstage at LEC furiously taking notes, like, okay, I got it.
I'm sure they're going to get a lot of feedback. Although I feel like a lot of the feedback is actually going to be good, because I feel like people did like the fact that there was a game before the finals.
Yeah, they'll listen to my tweets.
Well, I look forward to the 689th time I'm gonna see Draco's How does the LEC format work in summer? I'm just like,
guys, we're not confused here. We're not confused.
Fired up over it.
Sometimes I feel like the Dracos thing made me more confused. I feel like I would pay more attention if he did say it every time. Dracos, I love you. It's not on you.
Yeah, it's like, it was just really funny how they were like, okay, we're gonna explain playoffs, and then they played the video, and people are like,
Yeah, this is right. Yeah.
And then the next day.
Okay, to nitpick, by the way, on that video, I'm sorry that we keep doing this. I think what made it worse is that they had the theoretical what would happen.
Yeah.
And so, like, it didn't make any sense to me, because I was like, who? What team? Like, I don't know why they didn't update it to tell me exactly what was going to happen as it went on. But instead it was like, say it's this team. And I was like, what team?
Say it's Team Y facing Team X. It's
like, I know, and I was like, I don't know what Team Y is. Where did Team Y place again?
It's like my tiny pea brain can't keep up with this. Just give me teams. Just give me the logos.
So, on, I guess, the topic of tiny brains,
exactly.
Let's move on
to
LPL. My understanding is that this was just a little bit less of a stomp.
I mean, tiny brain region. That's the LPL.
Oh, very tiny.
Very tiny brain. But it's just, I think that, I mean, I felt that the JDG run was pretty amazing, because they were the 8th place. Wait, can I do math?
Yes, they were
8th place, because there are 16 teams. Okay, yes, 8th place. They were the 8th place team coming in playoffs, and people were like, okay, well, whatever. But then they took down WE, they took down RNG, and then they took down FPX. So they were like, they really went above and beyond everyone's expectations. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I found it funny because I looked at the bracket recently before finals, and basically JDG's side of the bracket, it was full best of 5s all the way up, except for the WE series, it was like 3-2, 3-2. While on the IG bracket, it was basically stomps, like 3-0, 3-0. And then IG lost the game to TUP, it was like 3-1. So I was thinking, like, either it's gonna be super close, or IG's gonna Goomba stomp them. And I mean, to be fair, game 3 was, I don't know if it was JDG playing well or IG being dumb, but I think it was a combination of that. So game 3 was a lot more competitive than game 1 and 2. Game 1 and 2 was basically just like IG dominating.
I don't know if I want to call that game 3 very competitive.
I mean, it was
It was
entertaining.
extremely entertaining, but competitive is a bit too much for what we saw. No,
What?
that set was just like JDG went into it, I think, with the wrong mindset, in that they kind of went
Yeah.
into it with these like kind of scaling team fight comps. They wanted to put Zoom on tanks, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't seem to really want to match
Mm-hmm.
IG's strengths. But if you're not gonna do that, then IG is just gonna roll over you, and
Yeah.
that's what happened. IG just kind of rolled over JDG, and the games were very quick, except for that third game. That was pure
Yeah.
fan service, I think. Um,
I mean, what? You don't like it when all five of IG run up top to kill one mid laner and then they get collapsed on and everyone dies? I find that pure high class League of Legends right there. But you're right. I did think that. I also feel like the JDG hype, I don't know, got a bit overblown because every time LPL playoff starts, you have these people or every time LPL finals start, you have these people who like they've watched one playoffs game, never watch anything in the regular season, and then they're like, I'm an expert. JDG's gonna beat IG, and you ask them, okay, well, what's the analysis? And it's basically like,
It's
oh
gonna
well,
be Imp. Imp is gonna come back to his original form, be the best AD carry ever. Because who cares about Jackie Love? Who's Jackie Love?
Jekyll is actually the most underhyped player in the entire region. Excuse me, I know this. No, but exactly. So it's basically like you have these people who they see the names, and they're like, Imp. Ah yes, he won Worlds.
Yeah,
will
he did.
win LPL.
he
did.
made
He
Piglet
did,
cry.
yeah.
This he made Piglet cry, so
I
he's
mean,
gonna
who
make.
doesn't make Piglet cry these days?
Oh my god! But yeah, so it was a lot of like this is no diss to Imp or JDG, but a lot of the fans, and I would also say a lot of casters or analysts who don't watch LPL, they like esports personalities, they kind of blew it up a lot. I think the Zoom versus the Shy matchup was justified because Zoom had an amazing performance. But then everything else, it was like, Yagao wasn't doing that well, I'd say. Or he was doing well, but he didn't have as much impact as he usually does. So I feel like, okay, Rookie has been a bit hit or miss lately, but it's Rookie. He's going to turn it up in finals, which he did. And then the bot lane is like, I mean, I guess the bot lane could be even, because sometimes Jackalov and Baolan share one brain cell and they don't use it. And I'm like, oh god. But then it came to the jungle, and Flawless is like, Flawless has been doing well, but at the same time, he's been very hit or miss. And Ning, even though he's very dumb, he makes up for it, usually. So personally, I felt like IG versus JDG, I mean, I had IG to win. Of course, I didn't expect it to go the way it did, but I still felt like IG was gonna win at the end. Oh, Kathy, did you watch it, by the way, or did you catch anything?
No. No. I'm sorry.
No.
It has been a hell month for me. It's like people
Yeah.
are lucky that I even watched any League of Legends this month. No, I wish I could. I'd say that I'd go back and watch the VODs, but I'm not going to, so I won't even pretend to lie.
It's okay. I can give you a rundown of how IG's performance is gonna be at MSI. So basically, this is what's gonna happen.
Okay, can we clarify that they're not EDG? We're talking about IG right now.
Yes, we're talking about IG.
Okay.
But this team is so dumb. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, how could you bet against IG in the first place? Which is like, okay, yeah, they have super strong laners, and they're just like a really bang bang, whim wham team. You know, they dive in, then 5 people die, and they're like, oh, whoa, let's do it again. It's like, no, stop it. But they continue. And they did that in the regular season, and then they did it in playoffs. Like, they're gonna do it at MSI. I'm going to get a headache because, yes, you should favor them going into MSI, but at the same time, I cannot stress enough how dumb they are. They're such a dumb team.
Oh,
They
no,
are
I
just-
mean, like, I did watch them through Worlds, and it was like, they played well, but then there were moments where you're like, what are you doing? And
They're just
that
so-
was
They're,
IG.
they're dumb, but the thing is,
I-
I think they know how dumb they are. I think they know just
I
how
don't know.
far they can push it.
I think the Shy and Rookie fairly smart. I mean, Rookie has suffered. He's immune to dumbness by this point. Baolan.
Okay, what about the part where he didn't buy any items
That
when
was
he
just
started?
him. That was just him DMing the enemy. Okay, like.
Yeah, that was him flexing, okay?
Whatever, guys. Sometimes they all suffer. They all have like 3 brain cells that they share with each other any given time. At any given time, somebody has 2 of them, and then it works.
My favorite thing is like in the post-match interview, they were asked like, okay, who does the shot calling in team fights? Because you guys, you always have these big team fights. And Rookie was like, oh, well, we all shot call. It's very, a democratic system. Everyone listens to everyone. If you have any ideas, you voice them, and then we think it through together. I was like,
so they all scream. They all scream is what you're telling me.
Yeah, and then later on in the interview, Ning, he gets asked, he was like, okay, well, Ning, why did you invade Faller's jungle when you were down a flash and everything? And Ning was like, oh, well, my flash got blown by Syndra, but I got kind of mad and I wanted to mess with him, and then I died. It's like, what is going on here? Oh, no. God. I'm expecting a lot of, like, boneheaded plays at MSI. It's gonna be fun.
So I was talking to somebody at the end of LCS Finals, and they were saying, well, why don't all players become casters or analysts? Mm-hmm. And I was like, actually, the funny thing is some of the best players are just the worst at explaining why things happen. And sometimes I feel like, I don't know if this applies to IG specifically, but that story you told about Ning is what reminds me of it. Like, a lot of the really good teams, you'll ask them, why did this happen? And they'll say, I don't know, I went in and I did this, and then they all died. And it's like, thank you for the analysis. Very, very insightful.
And that's why not every player can be a deficio. It's just how it is.
Okay, so now to, as we all know, the number 1 region in the world, who will surely make it to finals of MSI.
Of course.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, right? We're all on board with this.
I have no doubts.
Yes, the LCS. The only non-stomp.
A reverse sweep.
Almost was a stomp, because the first 2 games did not look promising. But then TL did a reverse sweep and ended up winning. So, thoughts?
You were there. You were there at the scene of the murder.
I was there. It was a lot of fun. It was my first big LCS event. I've been to LCS before, and then I was at Worlds in China. But this is the first time that it was just the North American fans. They gave us these little light-up bracelets that was honestly very K-pop and was
those look so cool
on
stream.
So pretty.
Cool. It was so cool. I mean, I cannot overemphasize how much we were all fangirling over these things. They were programmed, as you probably saw on stream, to light up with Baron, to light up with the Drakes, to light up with First Blood. And then when they played Silver Scrapes before Game 5, I don't know if they had planned this or if they just slapped together something, but they also lit up to the beat of Silver Scrapes.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Probably the best experience. It was really good. Thoughts on the games before I just monologue into this?
I mean, I was on in a voice chat with Aaron and a few other friends, and he can attest that I basically died throughout the series. Yes, I thought okay, they're gonna get stomped, but then they didn't get stomped, which is I think it's even worse than getting stomped, because then you're giving your fans hope. They're like, maybe they can actually take this game.
Yeah.
Which they did. Like when they took Game 4, I was like, I hate them so much. It is almost 4 a.m. I have to sit through this. I have invested so much emotionally. Because it was also Jensen's first LCS. Like this was his time to win. Yeah. It was his time. And Game 5 started disastrously. I don't think anyone would have expected them to come back, because they were like, before the big mistake, as we say.
Yes.
Before that happened, they were like down a bunch of Drakes. I think this TSM had like 2 Infernal Drakes.
They had 2. It was either, I don't think they had 2 Infernal. They had 1 Infernal, and then they lost the second Infernal, and then that was when I was like, okay, they were doomed.
Yeah, and then they were like, they had like freaking aced the TL before that in the bot lane. Like, it was basically their game to win. I think they were up like 6k gold or something. And then, the big mistake, or as I would call it, one good moment I got from the esports gods where they heard my prayers and they were like, you know what, you've suffered enough. We will give you something. We will throw you a bone. And they threw me an Ezreal, and bim bam boom. Would you look at that? TL1.
Did they throw you an Ezreal, or did Xmithy just make the most ridiculous mechanical play by walking up to the Ezreal and grabbing him?
Yes, of course, Xmithy with his exceptional IQ, high mechanics.
Yeah, and on the only person on that team at that point that he could even grab, right? Like it was like it was a perfect combination of Sven, I don't think should have done that, and then also Smithy being like, look. I don't. That game 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's okay. Let me put it this way. I feel like in all the other regions, I can definitively say they are sending their best team. With this, I want to still say that, but it wasn't a game where you felt that way. Like, as enjoyable as it was, and it was incredibly enjoyable, I can say that now because TL won. I think if it had gone to, like, a BO5 and then TL lost in the last game, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would still, like, begrudgingly admit that it was fun. But I don't know. Like, it was not... Okay, when a team throws and you catch it, like, it's still skill involved, right? Yeah. But, like, in game 5... Like, do you remember when they basically spent the entire Baron dancing around Elder Drake?
Oh, yeah.
I just did not feel like, I don't know, that did not instill the greatest of confidence in me.
It wasn't an incredibly high quality series.
Yeah. It was not bad. It was not bad. It
no,
just was...
No. For NA standards, it was pretty good. I mean, I think to what you're saying about, you want to say TL is the best team. I think TL is the best team in NA. I don't think they were the best team on that day.
No.
TSM should have won that in
game 3.
4 or 5. Yeah, like there are like 4 or 5 different moments where TSM should have just won the game, and they didn't. So now we get TL going to MSI, and I have no idea how they're gonna do.
Yeah. I guess let's do, because we spent quite a bit of time on this, but going into MSI, I'm really excited to see G2.
Yes.
I am kind of interested in seeing how SKT is going to stack up against the other teams, like the return of SKT, blah, blah, blah. But it's like a completely different SKT than any other SKT. So it's not like I can be like, well, previously SKT did this. I mean, who the heck knows, right? And especially with them, I mean, it's not like this is not like a whole bunch of other veterans too. Like you have Teddy and Clid on that team, so it's like I have no idea how they're gonna do. TL, like one always hopes that TL will do better.
One hopes that the always plays fourth memes are gonna come true this MSI.
Yeah.
So that they can get out of groups, please.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's right. They still have to get out of groups.
To get out of groups.
Oh man, yeah. What are the teams that are out of groups? Is it? I think it's SKT, IG, G2, and is it Fongvu Buffalo? Are they the 4th team out of groups?
Isn't it like
Or is it Flash Wolves?
I think it's Flash Wolves.
I don't know.
Shout out to Flash Wolves winning LMS again.
Seriously, shout out to Flash Wolves.
After again losing everything else that was like good on their team.
Yeah, that's actually pretty impressive, honestly.
Like honestly, they cannot keep doing this. I do not understand. Like it is like every single time that happens, every single year we're like, well, they lost everybody and that's it, and then like, here we go.
Their 7th split in a row, I think, that they've won LMS. So, they're just winning that region. They're basically...
I gotta say...
They own that region.
I think it might be Flash Wolves, and I feel like that really speaks to my level of confidence in LCS. That I'm saying Flash Wolves, a team that I haven't watched a single game out of, and yet I'm still like, I don't know about TL.
Okay, but see, here is TL's plan. How are they supposed to win? Okay, we do this. You find the Shy, and you lock him in a room. You don't let him out. Okay, he's out of the picture. Then you have
what?
Rookie. Look, this is how they win. This is
You
their
don't
game
want
plan.
IG in group stage?
Well, I mean, no. I'm going through each team. Okay, this is IG first. Then I'm gonna
Wait,
come
no,
to
no, no, no.
G2.
But you don't understand. You don't understand. How does TL even get to that stage? Like,
Um,
because
what?
the other threes are seeded into group stage. So we're talking about how is TL going to get out of play-in knockout?
Okay, well that's easy. So we kidnap the best players on every team, and then we just like place them in a row, and then they should win. It should be fine.
I don't think that's a very good
80%
plan.
chance.
I don't think that's a very
80% chance they'll get through it. Or they could stop drafting a Heimerdinger or champions
Yeah,
that we've
that
only
was
practiced
weird.
one time. That could be a good thing.
Oh no,
too.
no, I'm sorry. He practiced it twice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course. Okay, you have to practice it.
Apparently,
You have to
Excuse
practice
me.
it at least 3 times. You practice it at least 3 times. You
And
get to play it on stage.
and the academy mid laner told him it was good.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Oh
Well-
god, it's gonna be an interesting MSI, that's for sure.
It's gonna be an MSI for sure. So, since we're a little short on time, let's go into something that I really want to talk to Aaron about. We at the grand finale of all this beauty watched the LCK Summer Promotion Tournament. My condolences, Aaron. You, of course, are a big Kuzan fan. He was on ES Sharks. They played the final best of 5 against Generic Green Wings and lost, sadly, 3-1, right?
Yeah, it was a
And
it was a 3-1.
for those of you who aren't blessed to watch the LCK Summer Promotion Tournament pretty much every single time, like I have been, this is where the 9th and 10th place team on LCK play the 1st and 2nd place team on Challenges Korea to figure out who can stay or who gets promoted. So Aaron, was this
It's the highest. This is the highest quality gameplay, by the way.
They would
because,
definitely beat G2,
again,
is what I got out of that best of 5.
Yeah, so LPL is the strongest region in the world. They won everything in 2015. And the second strongest region is Challengers Korea.
Without
Yeah.
a doubt.
See,
Of course.
without a doubt. You know, again, they sent Griffin, and Griffin has stomped LCK, except for these best of 5s, which they're a little iffy in. They sent Damwon, they sent Sandbox, both teams jumping up to top 5. So clearly the rest of Challengers Korea is really, really strong.
Yeah.
Of course.
No. Because Generic Green Wings did not do great in the regular season. And
They were bad.
I think we can pretty definitively say that KT and Generic Green Wings were the best teams in that tournament.
I mean, they are the teams that are prophesized to beat G2, so obviously
Yes,
they would.
it's true.
I'm just
And
saying.
I do love whoever was the Redditor that said that KT sandbagged so that they could win Challengers Korea. Finally kidding. I thought that was
Slam.
hysterical. I thought that was so funny. I know it shouldn't be funny, but it was very funny to me. As like a KT fan who hasn't had a lot of humor in this split, I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the story I'm gonna tell. Aaron, what was this your first? Was this your first stint through Challengers Korea into LCK Summer Promotion?
So, again, I haven't watched a whole lot of Challengers Korea, in years past.
Right.
I'm not, not unfamiliar with the Academy Challenger territory. I followed it a lot in North America. Like I have a lot of Kuzan types in the North America Challenger scene that I always hold out hope for. So I'm not unfamiliar with the run up from like your organization is probably going to die if they don't promote into hopefully getting into LCK and making money. I don't think they make money actually. So I'm not unfamiliar with this, but this is my first time going through the LCK system because in years past the Challengers Korea League has not been of the highest quality. It's only recently that we've gotten Griffin and Damwon and Sandbox coming up where it's like, okay, these teams are pretty good. But for the most part, we've had the Spenus, we've had your beloved
My beloved
Kongdu.
Contour Monster, yes.
So the league hasn't been of the highest quality, so I haven't really tuned in and watched it. I've obviously watched like the promotion tournament, so I watch these teams as they come in, and I'll like go back and skim, the whatever playoff championship VODs of the league. But no, I don't really follow. This is the first time, and it was an experience.
It is a little heartbreaking because, as you say, there is always this element of, okay, well, ES Sharks still be around for the summer CK tournament, right? And will Kuzan still be on it? And there's
Yay!
there's that feeling um, of kind of like you say, do or die mentality with this that I don't think you get with the playoffs of the actual league. So
Yeah,
it does feel a little bit like, oh my god. And if you have a case um, where you get relegated, um, it does feel so much like, oh god, like, is this roster going to stay together through Challengers Korea, right? So there's also that feeling too. Um, did you follow ES Sharks through? So I mean, did you like learn the other members of his team, and like, do they have a presence as a team at all?
they don't really have a social media presence. I'm familiar with all of the players. Jisoo is probably the second most well-known player on the team. I
Right.
mean, he's played in, I think he played in Thailand. He played on one of the like Southeast Asia teams. Uh, I think he played in Brazil as well. He's played in Europe. He's been all over the map. He has, traveled the earth playing League of Legends, and he landed on ES Sharks. He's a pretty good top laner actually. That's about as like that's about it as far as the positives go with the players. The rest of the team isn't very good. Light, well, I'll start with Catch. Catch is their jungler, and he previously played on, I believe, Spenu Sonic Boom. He played like, I
Yes.
don't know, a half dozen games, maybe a dozen games on Spenu Sonic Boom. Back whenever they had their like doomed like 1 in 17 run through before they got relegated. Um, so he had like minimal experience with that team, and I don't know if it was good experience, but he's not particularly great. Light, their AD carry, previously played in Japan. Um, and I think that's where his only experience was. I think he also played in some Korean Challenger team. Uh, he is also not particularly good. And Guger, uh, a previous Kongdu
Yes.
staple.
Replaced by Secret, who is now X.
So he's also not particularly good. Am I going to get banned for saying that?
No, I think Guger was fine. I mean, I haven't seen Guger recently, so I have no idea. I think this might be weird to say. I think he was better
He
than
and Light
Secret,
are.
but I don't know how. Like, that bot lane was always carried by Soul, who was their AD carry, who is now a sub on a Freak of Freaks. So
Well, basically, Guger and Light are. I don't know if they're even fighting over a brain cell.
that's kind of sad.
It's a struggle. They're not very smart. Um, they weren't really smart even in the regular season whenever Yes Sharks were winning, but they got abused in the promotion tournament. Like just the Jin Air bot lane. Like there's a compilation out there. There needs to be at least. I won't make it because it's just gonna give me heartbreak, but there needs to be a compilation made of the Jin Air bot lane just repeatedly diving and solo killing Light and Guger because it was happening every single game. It made life really hard for Kuzan.
Uh,
It, it
yeah.
was rough. Are there other ES Sharks fans? Like, I'm actually very curious about this because it would
No,
be very difficult for me to be a fan in a vacuum. But it seems like that if you are an ES Shark fan.
no, there aren't any other ES Sharks fans that I'm aware of. Um, there aren't any other real Kuzan fans. I know there are some Jisoo fans. But Catch, Light, Guger, they don't exactly have the strongest fan base. I don't know if they have a Korean fan base, let alone a Western fan base. But Kuzan has some fans. Jisoo has some fans. I know their coach previously coached in Oceania, uh, Soul Strikes, and I know he has a Twitter presence. I've talked with him a couple times. He's a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other than that, the team has basically no social media presence. They do not have a team Twitter. I have told their coach make a team Twitter. Uh, None of the players tweet. I think Jisoo has a Twitter. I know Kuzan has a Twitter. Uh, None of the other players have any real social media presence as far as like Western media goes. So it's not a surprise to me that they did not garner much of a fan base, considering they didn't particularly try.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing when ESS Sharks played was how you always retweeted that Kusen tweet that he tweets about his dog, where his dog has like wrecked his room or something. And he's like, my dog is
Yeah,
crazy.
the dog is so cute.
Yeah.
The dog is so cute. It has ripped my room apart, and that says all you need to know about Kuzan.
It's like every time ESS Sharks plays, it just pops up on my timeline because you retweeted it. I love
And it's
it.
a cute dog.
Is a cute dog.
I told Soul Strikes, I was like, tell Kuzan that he needs to tweet more of that dog. He will gain fans. And I don't know if he told Kuzan.
Yeah. Those Challenger Korea teams, it's really hard to say if they are, how should we put this, interested in building a fan base.
They're not.
Yeah.
No, they aren't. As far as I can tell, all of these Korean Challenger teams are strictly focused on promoting because I'm guessing franchising in LCK is looming. That's kind of the only way that's the only reason that can explain the like sudden just increase in money that just flew into Korean Challenger this split.
Mm-hmm.
Previously most of these teams are just kind of your ragtag band of solo queue players, but this split we got some pretty high profile names in here who have presumably very large salaries.
I think it's just APK Prince. I mean, I'm looking at the rest of these rosters and like,
well,
I know some of these people, but how many of you actually know who Broccoli is? Like,
I am very familiar with Broccoli.
like
Okay,
this is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this is one of those.
I did not expect that name to come out.
He used to be on Konju Monster.
Wow,
Thank you
that's
very
amazing.
much. I don't know. I think
my
this is
conspiracy-
just APK Prince.
Well, my conspiracy theory is that Ursu, previously Iksu, his Bitcoin escapades have finally, come to fruition, and that's what's fueling Challengers Korea. So thank you.
See, so APK Prince, they put in a lot of money, obviously, for their roster. Like, they went out and bought 5 established players to come back and play, and they were unlucky. ES Sharks went out and, like, Kuzan, I don't know if he was wanted by other teams, but I mean, he's an established veteran. Jisoo is an established veteran.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, presumably those players had, sizable salaries, at least for Korean Challenger. And then you had VSG. VSG went out. They bought a 10-man roster, and there are a couple, longtime veterans on that team. You have Veritas,
Mighty Bear.
Mighty Bear is on there.
Yeah. And
Soul, their top one.
No.
Soar, their top laner. Like they have a couple longtime veterans, and they also have a fleshed out 10-man roster. So I'm assuming that they also spent a good chunk of money on there that you wouldn't normally see in Korean Challenger. Every other team in the league also was just kind of like they weren't really established veterans. These were the 3 teams that really put in a bunch of money.
Yeah, I can see that they, bought a lot of people. I don't know necessarily of how much salary Mighty Bear and Veritas are commanding these days. I would say probably not that much. But I do think it is interesting. I think everybody should have to follow Challengers Korea one day in their life. If they're an LCK fan, I think you should be required to do it. It's interesting because at least, I don't know if this is true of everybody, but Kongju had its fans that went to the Challengers Korea matches, and it's a much smaller, intimate venue, and there's a small mini fandom that is really interesting in Korean language fandom. The English fandom is just like always 4 people at any given time. I do think it's really interesting. I mean, this year is a little bit weird because LS is the coach for BBQ Olivers, so I think there was a lot more chatter about it than normal. And then of course APK Prince bringing together all these names that people do know. I think there's a little bit more chatter, but it's an experience. What did you?
Yeah.
I'm imagining you don't want. Actually, let me ask you this: would you rather Kuzan be picked up by a team right now as a sub, or stay as a mid laner for ES Sharks through the next split?
Is it okay in this like hypothetical situation where Kuzan, is wanted by another team
As a sub, let me clarify.
as a sub?
Yes.
Is this a sub in the sense that he will be playing, or is this a sub in the Hanwha Life Esports notion where he plays 4 games over a year?
I don't know. You can play the Roach lottery with me, which is I thought he was never going to get played on Genji, and then he played mid lane.
Oh God.
Oh God. You don't know. You don't get to know. This is not like. Let's draft him into. Heck, let's put him on generic Green Wings. You don't know.
No, I wouldn't.
You'd rather him be on ES Sharks.
If it was generic, yeah, no, I would rather him be on ES Sharks. If it were any other team,
yeah, okay.
I'll think about it.
It's Sandbox.
Sandbox? Oh yeah, put him on there.
Why?
He's better than Dove.
But you don't know if he's going to play more than Dove.
It doesn't matter because in my heart of hearts, I believe he's better than Dove, and that's all that really matters. It's what got me through 2018 when that's what got me through 2018 when Lava.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Lava was starting over him the entire year, and I was just kind of screaming at my laptop by myself alone in a corner saying, "Why is Kuzan not playing?" And they also didn't make playoffs when he was on the bench. So
clearly
right.
There's a connection here.
I was right. And that's all that matters, really.
Well, I wish your boy the best of luck. I guess at least one person will be following Challengers Korea Summer.
Oh, unfortunately.
Unless Katie decides to bomb it again and we gotta watch the relegation match.
No, well, probably, I do always like watching the summer promotion, or it will be the spring promotion matches.
Yeah.
Because it's weird, because it's like one season off. I always do like watching the promotion relegation matches for LCK, so I will be watching those pretty much no matter who is playing. Mm-hmm. But no, there is no way that KT drops into Challengers Korea Summer, barring some terrible mistake somewhere. And hey, remember Linda when you were talking about us stealing Fury because he suddenly has Menbun at the I don't know.
Fury, you could come over here. No shade to Senate and Gango, but we need someone who can play a marksman, please.
Because I'm sure, as Aaron wants to talk about, Prey has announced that he is not going to come back.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
But it's sad just because I think he can still play, but
absolutely.
You know what? He could absolutely still be like a top player in the league, in the world, but if I'm sure the life that he's living right now, where he's streaming very often, is far less stressful than it is in the pro level, and he's probably making more money just streaming a ton. So I wish him well. He is one of the best of all time, and I hope he has a fun life.
Yeah, he joins Mad Life and Ambition in that. Sorry, Linda.
No, it's okay. Yeah, but definitely, I think that, it was just so sad to read how he said that he lost confidence in himself. And, I mean, I guess the backlash must have been just super heavy on him for, failing to perform internationally and things like that. Even though I definitely think that he can, like you guys said, that he can definitely come back and still be, a good AD carry, one of the top tier ones, if he really wanted to. I do also hope that, he prioritizes himself and his well-being and his mental health. and KT just has to find another AD carry. It's fine. It's fine. We have a bunch of.
We had two of them.
We have. Well, those two.
We have two of them. Yeah, there's a great interview with Prey actually from Inman Global in January before he announced that he was actually retiring for good. That discusses how he felt and the negotiation process that he had with KT Rolster. So I'm sure there's going to be another long interview with him now that he's officially retired. But in the meantime, if you guys want to read that, it does talk about how hard it was for him and the criticism that he got, and just his whole feelings about taking a break and how this is actually different than when he took a break in 2014. So, yeah, very sad to lose him.
I imagine like last year, Kingzone were again like they went through spring and they crushed spring, and they looked like the best team in the world. And they went out to MSI, and they were the first Korean team to lose a best of 5 to a non-Korean team, I think.
What?
Since SKT lost to Linda, can you finish me?
EDG.
Yes,
EDG. Okay, thank you.
So 3 years passed where Korea went basically undefeated against non-Korean teams in best of fives, and they ended up losing to RNG, and it kind of set in motion this downhill slide for Korea and the rise of China. And I can see why, like, not just Prey, but Gorilla and BDD and Khan and all of those players probably faced a lot of backlash whenever they returned back to Korea after that MSI where they just lost. And it was a pretty convincing loss as well. It wasn't even a really close loss. So I can imagine that the fans probably went a little hard on all of those players, and it probably weighed into Prey's decision to retire.
Yeah. I think when he talks about it, he says, when he talks about it, it seems like the team still had a lot of confidence in him. So I don't think he is retiring not because he can't get a job necessarily, but I do think in some ways he's just done. Which is a step that we all make in our lives. And like you said, he's had a lot of very stressful, intense experiences on some of the best teams in the world, and definitely some of the best teams that Korea has ever seen. So I can imagine after this many years of shouldering that, I think sometimes you just wanna be done, and
move on to the next chapter of your life.
So I guess as much money as we're gonna throw at Prey, it's not gonna change.
Well, no, yeah, he can come watch. He can come watch us and laugh at us when we. Hopefully we won't die in summer.
I mean, it worked. Smeb and KT Rolster won, so maybe they just need to make fun of us more often.
Exactly. Maybe we just need Prey as a mascot. Can we hire him as a mascot? Can he
yeah,
just come?
Right. He can stream while he does that.
Exactly.
Maybe it can only happen if you get all the ex-GE Huya Tigers together.
Oh yeah, you need all of them in one
Sorry,
day.
and Ku. I'm sorry, GE Huya Ku. All 3 names. I summon them.
We need to put them all in a circle to bring Katie back to Katie Summer form.
So this brings us to the part in every episode where we recommend something small and light that we don't want to have a full-blown episode on. Aaron, do you want to do the honors?
So, my choice was the LPL Finals Trash Talk video that was less about trash talk against their own teams and more of them just praising each other. The players are really bad at trash talk. They they just basically it was basically again they split it up into top laners talking to one another, junglers, role players talking to one another. And so for a good 30 or 40 seconds, it's basically it's the shy and Zoom, basically just praising each other.
Yes, yeah, it was a love fest.
Yeah.
I don't think they got the I don't think they understood that they were supposed to be talking trash to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they were making lots of kissy faces to one another. They were extremely into each other. Um,
Yeah, that's
so there was that, and then there was Yagao and Rookie also doing a I really want to play against this person. They're really good. And then both of them continued to dumpster on Caps. They were not talking trash to one another. They were talking trash about Caps because Caps' prediction of JDG winning just incredible trash talk video. Most of the trash talk videos that LCK and LPL produce are just gold mines. It's
yeah.
great to watch these players in like non-competitive settings just kind of doing whatever. They're just kind of dumb kids.
It's
Uh,
it's a
it's
real
great.
yeah, and it was just like a real big contrast to the previous spring trash talk video because that was EDG and RNG, and they're like both very established and they faced each other like a bazillion times. So both of them were just roasting the hell out of each other. It was like Uzi was like, "Oh well, iBoy better not flash," and I was like, "Oh well, I don't know about you, but I won the last final, so it's just." And then you come to this, and it's just basically, oh, they're so good. Oh, they've had a really great run. It's like, oh, they're a strong team. I look forward to meeting them.
Jackie Love and Imp did roast each other quite a bit. Like, Jackie Love was basically like, Imp is an old man, and then Imp was basically like, I'm gonna do it. Like, so there was a little bit of that, but for the most part, it was like everybody had kind of not gotten the memo, and it was like, Zoom saying he's gonna change his name to the Zoom if he wins, which was like, that's not how that works. Yeah. Good video, good rec.
Mm-hmm.
Linda, do you want to do your recommendation?
Yes. And then my recommendation is, so everyone knows that Nike and LPL, they have this collaboration thing going on for this year, and they're gonna produce merch and things like that. And IG actually did a collaborative video with them. I don't really know if it's a commercial, but it's basically they're collaborating for one of their, it was like Nike Air Max 478, those numbers thingies. And I thought that it was pretty, it was still pretty honest. Like they talk about a bit about the pressure you face after you win Worlds, because now it's like you need to do better than that. Mm-hmm. And then there's one part where it's Baolan that's narrating. And he's like, after a while, the more you do this, the more dull it becomes. And Ning talks about how they don't have any breaks, or they don't have any, like, routinely scheduled holidays or vacation. And at most, maybe they get a day or two to rest. But it's just, like, practice, you wake up at... Like, you start practice at, like, 11, 12 or something, and then you stop at, like, 1 in the morning, you go to sleep, and then it just unfolds over and over again. So it does, and since IG won, it does make me a bit worried, because they really don't have any time to rest at all before MSI. Like, Rookie said, after finals, they had a bunch of photo shoots. I'm guessing they still have a bunch of photo shoots. They also signed up for the Nest tournament, which is, like... Yes, which I don't know why they did that.
Yeah.
But they're sending the main roster, and they're playing in, like, their schedules to play, like, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And then it's, like, straight to MSI. So I don't really know, if they're gonna... Like, I don't want them to burn out or anything, or... Because Ning also has kind of, like, health problems. He's been sick for a long time. Because, you want to see them at their highest level. But it was pretty interesting to see them... like talk so candidly about it in this video, and I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really great. It wasn't too cheesy. I watched it and I felt like, okay, this is real. And the part, I think it was the Shy who was saying how once you win one, you want to win 2 and 3 to show that it wasn't just luck that you won the first one. And I was like, this is clearly the voice of a young man. Like, like that, like just the confidence that he could win 2 or 3, like it felt, it did feel really, it felt fun to watch that. My recommendation is, so SKT T1 always does these behind-the-scenes camera. We know them colloquially as TICA, as like a shortening of T1 camera. The latest episode is their behind the scenes filming of the skit that SKT did for LCK Finals. I was not entirely clear what the theme of that skit was, but it did involve, I think, like a lot of them. It was either like a business setting where they were like vaguely like mob bossy. I don't really know. The point is, you should probably watch that skit first and then watch this behind the scenes filming. Like, Mata makes a big song and dance about how much he doesn't want to do this, but then turns out to be the only person who's like really into the filming. And then like
he really wanted to do this.
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, I don't want to do this." And then he's like slamming the whiteboard and is like the only person who's like really into it. Then like Koma like can't keep a straight face through like any part of this video, and so he like screws up multiple times. It's like it's really charming. Like, I mean, if you, they're not the most exciting videos, but if you're ever interested in what SKT is like when they're not on the Rift, Faker is like a lot more jokey.
Yeah.
And I think like this year more than ever, because Khan is such a big personality in the behind the scenes world,
Yeah.
and he's just constantly running his mouth. And then Faker, finds it really funny, and they're like talking up Teddy, who's like really pleased with himself in this video.
Yeah.
So it's a fun and interesting dynamic. I think Mata just sits there and makes a face the entire time.
Yeah, I do feel like this T1 roster, this SKT one, they're just a really rowdy bunch because they've got Khan and then they've got Teddy. And then you also got Mata. So it's just fun to see. And also Faker is like, when I read that Faker calls Clid cute, that he thinks Clid is cute, I was like, is this Faker? I don't recall him ever saying that about Peanut when Peanut was there. So it's just it's fun to see them like let loose a bit more. So that, you can stop the whole Koreans are robots and things like that.
Yeah, I love these videos. It's great for the lore and just like the behind the scenes type stuff. Like Mata is the mob boss. He really fits that. Like, I mean, we all know Mata. He fits that role to a T, and he's great in this.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I love him. He just is like such an old man. Like, I feel like this team more than ever though, he seems like such an old man because like Khan and Teddy and Clit are just like off like doing whatever, and then like Faker, sometimes interjects, and then Mata just sits back and is old, which is a great dynamic.
He can be the true old man now that he's not on KT, because Score had that title before.
Yeah. That's true. Well, thank you, Erin, for joining us. This was a little bit all over the place, and I apologize, but I hope you had fun.
It was great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Linda, as always, thank you. I could not do this without you.
Thank you for always structuring things.
Or trying. If you are interested in more episodes of Pod of Ages, we are at soundcloud.com/Pod of Ages. You could also find us at Twitter at Pod of Ages. We also have a Gmail address, Pod of Ages. I think it's just podofages@gmail.com, but I could be wrong. Again, it is 6 a.m. So on behalf of Erin, who again is at Stillwell _ at Twitter, and Linda, who is at iCrystallization on Twitter, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.